Welcome to the Lore Syndicate, where the strange corners of the internet get a spotlight, the digital shadows are always watching, and no mystery is too cursed to click on.
We're your hosts, three voices trapped in a virtual bunker armed with bad coffee, too many tabs open, and way too much time spent reading horror stories at 3 a.m.
Tonight, we're delving deep into haunted game servers, urban legends with IP addresses, and online posts that should have stayed buried.
You're tuned in to the Lore Syndicate. Let's crack this thing open. Today we're discussing the Angel Engine by the Unearthly Hub. It is available on TikTok and Instagram. I'm Hunter.
I'm Chance.
And I'm Caleb.
Welcome to the Roundtable. Let's get right into it. Do you guys think that Uriel and the other messenger are the same being?
No.
Yeah, they have to be different ones because I mean, their physical appearance is different, and like one of them is bound, the other one's not bound. Clearly,
True. But when we were watching back through the videos for the research on this, I noticed that in some of the scenes, Uriel is shown not bound. There's specifically a scene where Uriel, it looks like there's a younger version of Uriel standing in front of his bound version, and the way he says he transcended time. I saw that the film theorists were talking about they think one is Gabriel, one's Uriel, or one could be the devil and one could be, an angel. But I don't know. Part of me wonders, if it wasn't part of the plan, he transcends time to kick the loop in.
I don't think it could be. I just don't think it could be Uriel, because I'm thinking, and just to clarify, Uriel is the angel, the name of the angel that's changed.
Yes.
I'm thinking that Uriel dies, and we haven't got to that point. I'm thinking that the one that's come back to warn is Gabriel, because Gabriel is the messenger of God.
That is true. See, that was what the film theorists pointed out. I just noticed there was a lot of imagery where Uriel was sort of, his face was contorting the same way that we see the earlier messenger come into be.
well, see, from what I've seen in the video, there are three separate angels in the video because there's what I believe to be Uriel, who's the one who's bound. You have the messenger angel, which there are many messenger angels in.
That is true.
In typical Christian mentality for archangels and the such. And then there's the third one, the one that is out with the Holy Land with the thorns. That if you look at it, it will take you away. The one that has the kind of blacker visage.
The deceiver. The one the deceiver.
Yeah, the deceiver.
Speaking of the deceiver, did you notice that in the newest video, right, when they're talking about the Easter one, or whatever, the deceiver is the one bound to the engine at the very end.
Yes, which I believe that's actually the second thing. That's the second new project that he was talking about, where he was saying that he didn't need Uriel anymore.
Yeah, and I wonder, right, because there's been a lot of imagery showing that Dr. Ernsman he's the Antichrist. There's been a lot of equating him to God. There's been a lot of the father of the Angel Engine, and just the way things have been, a lot of people were speculating that he is the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. If that is the case, it specifically said that, do not believe him. The deceiver cannot harm your soul.
He would not let it.
But we saw something happening to Dr. Ernsman's quote unquote soul.
Yes.
Right. And I wonder if that wasn't Dr. Ernsman. I wonder if that was somehow the deceiver or the possessed. Because just from what I can tell, it seems like the deceiver can possess, right? That's what we're assuming happened with the civilian that shot Dr. Ernsman.
Yes.
Right.
Either possession or
do not let him in. Yeah. That seems to be a lot of what the do not let it in. Do not let it in. He is a deceiver.
Yes. I think that's what when he killed, because there's a lot of thematically themes of hubris. I think initially at the beginning it was Dr. Ernsman, especially, but we see references with the second Tower of Babel and the fact that their office is actually in the second Tower of Babel. That's where the Angel Engine is stored. That being a tale of hubris. So I'm wondering if maybe at some point the deceiver put that thought into his head to grab that angel grab Uriel for the engine, and then clearly this is a part of his plan. He possessed that man to kill Ernstman, and
to
then
bring
he's
him
going to
back into.
possess. Yes,
Ooh, actually, I really like that. I hadn't thought of that angle. That makes a lot more sense. That does make a
I
lot
was
of sense.
I was just
Okay,
wondering about that.
so with that being the case, right? So we see Uriel tells us how to survive in the Holy Lands. Let's assume the deceiver. Let's not assume the deceiver is separate. The messenger, right, tells us how to go to the Holy Lands, and then Uriel tells us how to survive there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who is it that is in going into the Holy Lands? I mean, do we any
Well,
speculation on their because they keep
it
popping up? We keep seeing their imagery.
it looked like a young, like blondish child, like blondish orange haired child, which I mean I can't help it. That's like with the obituary for Ernstman. He's had an
Yeah,
exceptionally long lifestyle. In the video where they describe how to go into the Holy Land, how to like find the angel that's inside of it, there's a boy that has almost like a lighter version of Ernstman's hair color, but he has a sword. It almost makes me wonder
yeah.
if, like, when it's with the time dilation potentially with that angle, if Ernstman may be older than he's actually showing on that, and if that was him going to find the angel so he could then get it to the contraption.
I mean,
I
that
definitely could see that. I definitely could see that.
definitely could be a
Uh,
possibility. But if that was the case, then that kind of knocks Chance's earlier theory out because we see that the young person that goes to the Holy Land, their eyes and their ears are covered, and it's like when Uriel's speaking to them, it's almost like he's wanting someone to come save him, like he's already there.
well, and this is something that's interesting that kind of pops up. It mentions the forgotten, and then it shows those giants in the middle of the desert. And I don't know if maybe those could be experiments from Ertzman before. So maybe that might not be Ertzman. Maybe that could be like a crusader, but I'm not entirely sure. Those giants to me kind of seem reminiscent of the Nephilim from the Bible, from like what the flood wiped
Yeah,
out, came and wiped out, like semi borderline celestial beings, or maybe they could be forgotten as in the fallen angels that fell along with the Lucifer's host, like the holy host that fell to the
well,
earth.
they could also because you got to keep in mind at this point the Earth's resources have been depleted. There's been war. There's been everything. These could just be mutated humans from before.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I have that difficulty with that too, because like the idea of them being Nephilim could make sense. 'Cause, like, with like the Book of Enoch, there's the whole idea that I believe it was Uriel had come after the judgment had been passed to talk to the human.
So there clearly is a lot of biblical dualism there.
Oh
There's a
yeah.
lot of they
Really is.
definitely cross a lot.
So something else that like, and I guess this could tie back into the biblical dualism because we see a lot of the father son things, those motifs coming up again and again in the angel engine with Dr. Ernstman and the angel, and then talking about the Lord and the angel, and then the young child we saw going to the Holy Lands. But something else I noticed, we see the young version, like a very young version of Uriel, right, standing in front of the mounted up angel engine, but the face is obscured, right? But it's definitely the machine we had seen before, right?
Because the cubic shape and all. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also noticed in one of the news articles, right, it uses a similar picture, right? Specifically one where it's talking about his new invention, like when it's going to be unveiled and people wonder what it is, right? If you go back and look, it shows that same image, it's that same younger version, right? But it's Dr. Ernsman behind him.
With that in mind, in most of the articles that have Ernstman in them, like the magazine type articles that have pictures of them, he tends to have this halo over his head. Like they're equating him to being some sort of angelic being as well. Maybe not like directly, but he of course has that power due to the angel engine. I wonder if it's like more of a deeper reference to that, where he may have some sort of additional power, like with the idea of the deceiver, like you guys were mentioning, influencing Ernstman. I wonder if that might be trying to be referenced in those magazine article clippings.
And something
I,
else,
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that leans to the idea that he is the Antichrist
Mm-hmm.
because everybody sees him as like a savior figure with that.
and actually what I was going to say adds right back onto that. I think it leans into also like you're saying, him being the Antichrist, and that maybe the messenger is not one of the angelic beings. He could be a demonic entity who was in his ear, like you were saying earlier, because one of the news articles references the fact that people kind of thought Earnsman was washed up, and then all of a sudden he comes out of here with the angel engine. So what if Earnsman somehow sold his soul and for his hubris, for his pride, to be able to be the savior of humanity? Because obviously Earnsman's not in it to actually save the world. If he was, he'd be using the
Yeah.
miracles to be correcting.
I know.
And if you notice in the first video, right, with the messenger, right, when he's talking about how to capture the angel, how to hook it up to the machine, and then what to do with it, it shows it shows an image of what I assume is Dr. Earnsman, right, correcting the environment. When he said fix your world, it's Dr. Earnsman. Clearly by the hair and the texture of the hair, it looks like Dr. Earnsman with like the green and the flowers and the butterflies coming out. And like, I wonder if that's not the messenger or the deceiver or the demonic entity or whatever speaking to Dr. Earnsman to bait him into selling his soul for this, applying to his hubris.
From what one of the videos said, like it was like capture the angel, but with the like going to find the angel too. I don't know if I misheard it. I may have misheard it in the video, but it sounded like he said to find the angel engine, as if it was already there.
Yes, but I think that was because that video, it's like the same time we
Mhm.
also see a tortured version of like the film theorists called him the bronze face.
Yeah.
But if you look at the bronze face, he is hooked up to the machine. So I'm assuming in
The
this
decayed
that is Uriel. Yeah, that's a decayed version of Uriel.
Yeah.
So he's saying find the angel engine, as in where it's left, like where it's at currently.
As if he'd been
So
abandoned.
he could be saved. Yeah,
Yeah.
either he had been abandoned or someone could, because no one knows what the second Tower
Oh,
of Babel is, right?
Mhm.
That's a
you,
that's a hidden secret to get. So Uriel's trying to get someone to save him.
so you think that the second episode? I would think that was the second episode. That could have actually been in the future. That could have been like a
Yes,
future thing.
yes.
So okay, shit.
Oh.
So
Or it's
that
the
could
angel
be
that's
it.
talking to us, like separately outside of. That's why I was hypothesizing that maybe Uriel and the messenger are the same, that they're able to transcend time in this way, and that they're kind of meshing together.
I mean that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Because we
they hint
also
towards that.
yeah, because they also say that Uriel could leave if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to.
He's chosen
It
not
also
to.
yeah, and it shows that it's his kindness and him working for the Lord that he stays to repair the earth. So I wonder if this is not like he knows he has to like serve out the sentence. He has to do the angel and just stuff, but he also wants to not be there. So in the future, he is fighting to save himself, or he transverses time or something to do that.
Or just back to it, just to play a little bit of the devil's advocate there. What if the Uriel, the guy that's actually locked up, is the deceiver? What if it straight up, this is all a part of the plan? Like this
See,
is what he wanted from the beginning.
I wonder about that. I do wonder. I wonder if it's all together. If they're trying to bait a real angel in there or something along those lines by using Uriel that way.
A few interesting things around those newspaper clippings too, and around the location. So the second Tower of Babel, or maybe not the second Tower of Babel, but where he actually died, where Ernstman got shot by the possessed man, which it's very clear that something's not quite right with him.
Drugs in possession one. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been drugs. It could have been drugs, but he was shot in the city of Beersheba, which Beersheba is known as the city of the well or the city of oats. It is where Abraham signed an oath with Amalek. And who Amalek was, he was the son of Gideon, who was the judge in the Bible. It was another kind of story of hubris, and it was to keep, Amalek was known for going to war with his neighbors. But it's known as the city of the oath. And I believe it said he was shot right in the front of the house of Solomon, right?
Yeah, the tower or the building of Solomon, Hall of Solomon. That's what Hall of Solomon.
Yeah, the Hall of Solomon. So it's a man of wisdom. I wonder if that's maybe where he first met the angel, was in the city of the oath.
Something else. Something I noticed. Or you mentioned that it comes in the story where they talk about Gideon being the judge, and during that the man that shot Earnsman kept repeating, God is coming, God is coming, the Almighty Judge of all. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that
And
before until you were talking about that.
something else built off of that, where Uriel's actually one of the first places he's mentioned is in the Testament of Solomon, the Night of the Solomon's Hall,
Oh, that's interesting.
and
I wonder if because Beersheba is a real city. It's a real city still to this day. I wonder if the Hall of Solomon is a real thing that's there because I have no idea, or if it's something that comes straight from this story from this alternate timeline.
Let me look it up while we're here talking.
see, there's another thing too that I was looking into when I was researching like more on Uriel. There's a lot of debate around Uriel and a separate name that could also be referring to the same angel. The name Uriel meaning God is my flame, and he's supposed to be like a god of knowledge, a god of like a lot of kind of a lot of positivity for man in a way, but also partially related to repentance. Part of, in my mind, where I think that the whole being bound might be if that is really Uriel in the chair. But the other name that they potentially could refer to him as that's kind of heavily debated is Phanuel, which is a name meaning God has turned. Also an angel of repentance, though.
Is this but God has turned, that kind of seems like it has a little bit of a more ominous context to it.
Yeah.
Is there a context to that name? Is that like does that have anything to do with the wrath of God?
That
Because there
I'm not
are a
entirely
couple.
certain.
Well, there are like that one faceless entity that we see swallowing Ernstman after he dies, or what we assume to be Ernstman. You got the one with a bunch of eyeballs on him. That kind of leans into that maybe that might be God, or maybe that might be a personification of God.
That
I
sounds
don't. Could that be the punishment of God for what he did to one of his angels?
it definitely
Could be. It very well could be.
I was seeing with Phanuel, like I was saying there, there's another name that's given to him as well, which is Panael, which means the face of God. And I remember in the video, the figure that may be God, the multiple-headed God, the actual face area was open. Seems like the president, like the leader of them.
Yeah.
I did a little bit more looking into it for the term of to turn, or God has turned. That part is based on a Hebrew verb, it says, which is called pana or pana. I can't pronounce that properly, which is like to turn or to face something. So it could be in a way like Uriel being related to Pana or Paniel may potentially be like the idea of God looking to the planet that is going to ruin.
Which you say,
Oh,
and then so that makes me think, right? Because number one, they had to pray to him in the first place for him to send the angel, right?
Yeah,
Who is intended to right the wrongs
that mankind done.
of humanity, but then they captured him, right?
Mhm.
But then in the video you're talking about with like the faceless entity, right? The next video is the one. It's the sing along, but it's where's your head at?
Yeah,
And it's all the faces in the sky looking down. They're all looking down
yeah,
onto
oh,
like the world and
onto
like
the
the door.
planet.
Yeah.
that
So
makes
I
so much
wonder
sense.
that's a really good
And
connection there.
and the entity, his face is gone, but his eyes are open. All the
Mhm.
eyes over his body are open and looking towards. That's terrifying.
And with
And
the
so
So
when you think about that too, right? If you go back to the original newscast, right, the one with the president saying we
Mhm.
may be going to war, right? His face keeps opening up, showing the eyes, and we have that image of what I'm assuming. It seems like it's the deceiver that keeps poking his head up over the thing. So
Yeah,
what if you're right? What if the deceiver? Oh, that is interesting. That
'cause,
is
like,
interesting. And you're saying it's like a god has turned because they tortured the angels.
even mentioning that, like you're talking about the deceiver being that in that video, with the video where Ernst in the front talking about what they've done. When the doors open, you see the deceiver's hands as the deceiver pokes its head out, and Uriel's in the background. It was in the same facility, at the very least, and that part is shown from that
Ooh.
image. That, or maybe it's like somehow taking over telebroadcast and like projecting itself, but that seems less likely than just being there.
okay, so that kind of proves that the deceiver's got his little fingers. He's had
Yeah.
his little fingers in it the whole time. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna, on
Ooh.
top of that, add to this with the, not to like harp on the same thing too much with Phaneal or Peniel. He was also seen as an angel of exorcism to expel Satans or the demonic beings, along with being linked to an angel of penance.
That is
Oh
so
well, that makes sense because he came to give penance
Yeah.
for humanity. That was like kind of the thing was to serve humanity and bring everything back from his suffering.
With that, the Book of Enoch, it says that Phaneal is the fourth angel, set over repentance and those who hope to inherit eternal life, and then
Which would
fending off the
add up.
Satans, which is adversaries or accusers, and forbidding them to come before the Lord of spirits to accuse them who dwell on the earth.
But well, that kind of would make a lot of sense to me. So maybe he's there to thwart the plan. Maybe that's why he stay. Maybe that's why he's not left yet.
Yeah, he's still there
If
to ensure the true plan takes place.
I'm thinking,
yeah, he's there to stop it. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm thinking there's something more with the engine itself, because we haven't seen the machine on its own, just with the angel in it. It makes me wonder almost if the deceiver, if it links to the machine, if something else were to occur. Because when Uriel is there, he's tortured. Himself is tortured and taking on the greed of humanity, it looks like, to bring people back, to change these massive events with his power. And he could leave. He's choosing not to. The deceiver, it seems, is trying to get in.
Well, they use Uriel essentially like a battery, right? Don't they
Yeah.
use it as like a source of
Like a big power
limitless energy? So I guess the question becomes, if there's a second machine, which there is, I'm sure the deceiver like whispered, or maybe it wasn't the deceiver. Maybe Uriel was the one that gave Ernstman the plans for the angel engine. Maybe he foresaw that.
Well, no, because it said in the original video, the way it implied it was that the angel comes and you hook him into the angel engine, like there's already one. And that
You
he'd be
lead him
willing,
to
but
it.
that you already have an engine.
That's
The
what I'm
deceiver would have had to play that part then.
Yeah.
Him or Earnsman. See, that's the other thing is it almost so there's like a duality, right? Because it also seems like you were saying earlier, right? Earnsman and the deceiver are hand in hand because Earnsman himself is a deceiver in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and the way he talks to people. But then I think he's in league with what you're saying. Like maybe that's why the other one was hooked up. Maybe that's why Earnsman is the only one that can utilize the engine, is because he's the only one who's made the deal or has been with the deceiver.
Another thing. Another thing with that, like the whole idea, because I mean, not like glossing over or anything like that. The war was mentioned pretty frequently. I almost wonder if it's kind of like a battery where you have like a positive and a negative charge to it to some degree, and Uriel has to be hooked up for the deceiver to take its place to do something.
Ooh, actually, that could be that's a good point, because it could have a feedback loop, or maybe it requires a certain amount of energy for the plan to take place. Which I'm guessing the plan is for something to happen with Ernstman's body.
Yeah. So on the topic of the angel engine being a battery, right? This is sort of my last set of notes I had written down here. So we know that this is a take on the hubris of humanity. I mean, that's pretty obvious throughout the entire series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I don't know if you guys know, but currently, because of the use of AI, there is a lot of infrastructure going to be built in, a lot of power plants, a lot of like mini nuclear plants that Apple and Google and a few places are looking into to power their data centers and to power computating power for AI devices and computation stuff, right? Do you think, because I know the creator got a lot of hate for using AI, which I think he shouldn't get as much hate as he does on that. But do you think that this could also be a take on how we as humans are using AI and utilizing resources to do this and looking to it for, miracles and things we should be doing ourselves?
I think there is a lot of reference to how we are there's a worship in technology there. Maybe not worship per se, maybe not idolization, but there's definitely more of a focus. It's very dominating in our lives. And AI, I know, like when we were growing up, we didn't have AI.
Right.
Now it's become a very prominent thing. So like just
Well,
when
we
our
did
parents were
have
growing up,
AI.
they didn't have. Well, we didn't have the same kind of AI. It wasn't the same like
It wasn't
you could.
marketed the same.
Just like
It was
Yeah, it
similar.
wasn't
It was the
marketed.
building blocks, but it wasn't marketed like the current versions of AI are
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's kind of a new version of technology. It's not a new brand of technology, right? Like our
Yeah,
parents didn't have, they had computers, right, but they didn't have laptops in their home
or
that they
cell
could carry
phones,
true.
like
or cell
smartphones
phones. Yeah,
specifically.
but like the next generation, we didn't have AI, and the next generation is going to be writing with AI.
Oh
Maybe,
yeah,
who knows? Probably.
they already
They're
are.
already doing it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
No,
they're
they
already
100%.
doing it.
I mean, just judging from some of the papers I've read from students and stuff, they are 100% using it. It's blatantly
Oh
obvious.
yeah.
I mean, and people will tell you about it. They brag about it.
I mean, like even going off like this product, or like the product of like being the Angel Engine itself, like with AI, there is a lot of potential in what it can do. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I think kind of like to relate it back to what you're saying with, is it like a anecdote of the same thing? We don't think about what it's costing to utilize it. We don't think about what it's costing companies, costing the environment, costing anything in general. We just plug something into a machine and it comes back to us.
True, and we won't know. We won't really know the cost until it's got too far. Like we know how much of a pull it's going to have on the power grid,
Mm-hmm.
because we're having to add those facilities that we're having to expand on the power grid in order to support it. Not to mention the massive server farms that are going to be formed because of it. Like who knows, like all the heating and cooling that's going to need to go into that. So it's going to be a big drain
Oh
on
yeah.
Yeah,
whatever grid it's put on, and we know that has negative environmental factors. It's just a matter of, I guess, how much,
Yeah.
to what extreme it's taken to.
yeah. I mean, personally, I don't think his intention was to make this an anecdote of that. I just think
No.
it is a byproduct. I do think it is interesting to look at how a lot of people do kind of worship technology and things now. And I mean, I'm in an engineering field, so I mean, I'm used to I work with technology a lot. I don't think it is as powerful as people say, and I think that is an interesting perspective to have specifically on this because people are telling Dr. Ernsman like, "Oh, you could have done it. You couldn't be this without the Angel Engine. The Angel's done all the work." I think that's just really interesting. Although I do think it's kind of a dangerous thing though to equate AI to a religious instance. I think it's a very dangerous precedent.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting take to look at.
But it theoretically it could form into something akin, like
That
there's
sounds terrifying.
yeah, it's just theoretically, like if you think about dystopian sci-fi futures, like in movies. I know movies isn't real life, but it's just something to ponder.
Oh yeah.
Something that not necessarily would happen, but something that maybe could happen.
I mean, like, even on a more like modest scale of that, like say for example, AI is trained to a certain point where like not looking at like image generation or like writing or video making, because I mean, you have videos like Will Smith eating spaghetti, and then you have things that are like modern day art that can come out of it.
Yeah.
But like in a much more small grade scale, AI could in theory be used to shut people out of like banks or shut down major corporations by just sending lines of code that their machines can't process faster than we could process ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not likely, but it could potentially happen.
Which I know this isn't a
Yeah,
tech episode, but it is an interesting thing to look at with just how far computing has come and where it's heading. And just looking at the tech field of like where it could realistically go. I mean, there's still limitations. Most of the AI we see now are large language models, or
Mm.
they're models that are very basic, and they're just used for training applications. And we can use them in a lot of different ways. Like Chat GPT has like options for making it write code and things, and a lot of time it still misses the mark, but it's getting better. And it is dangerous, but also like I do think this story serves as a cautionary tale that we should watch. Like
Yes.
it's technology can be helpful, but we need to be careful.
It's almost like a thought process behind don't take for granted what you've been given, because gifts are not something that you can entirely rely on. It's something
Yes.
that if you keep asking and keep asking, no matter how much something gives, that good charity, that goodwill is going to run out. Similar to how an angel being this benevolent, I think he said it was like millennia they could run the power source out of it. But they keep testing and keep testing, keep pushing, and you can see throughout the course of the series as it begins to degrade.
Yeah, and if it's degrading that fast, like how can it have lasted a millennia, right? There's no way, unless each miracle takes so much energy that it actively drains years and years and years away from the angel engine's ability to power. It would almost be more beneficial to just do a few miracles to start bringing back the ecosystem and just let it power the homes.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be ethical, but if we're looking at it from an energy conservation standpoint of where you have to allocate the energy,
And the same thing, they were questioning if angels have, like, it's the same thing, like, if we were to bring back extinct species, and with the angel, do they have rights? They're not something that exists on our world. They're not from this world, so what is their right in the world?
Yeah. Oh well, and
yeah,
something that's kind of interesting in the story itself that I don't think was really touched on that much. Uh, you would think, like, when shown proof of divinity, shown because that clearly the angel is a proof of a divine being,
Oh, yeah.
uh, that there would be like vast gatherings of people outside of uh, Tower of Babel 2, uh,
yeah.
ready to worship.
Mhm.
Like when
Well,
shown divinity, you would think that.
they don't know where the Tower of Babel is though. It shows that it's a difficult place to get to. That's why Uriel, after being tortured, has to tell someone how to get there, how to traverse the Holy Land, and what safeguards are in place to keep people away.
Yeah. Well, and that's another point to it being in the future, right? Why did the guy have a sword? So there's there's that whole saying. It's like World War III will be fought with nukes, and World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Mhm.
So what if that war has happened? We've had an apocalypse, and it's so far in the future they're using swords. I think that
That is an interesting take.
I think maybe it could be they just forgot about it. I feel like it's not that secret because that's the headquarters. Like it's a the Tower of Babel has interns. Babel
Yeah.
2 has interns.
Well,
So I don't think it would be that secret during that time. You know what I mean?
the thing I wonder about with
And yet, but
that,
they have to sign up specifically, like they are
yeah, I was gonna get off.
screened.
Like, you're talking about, like, the apocalyptic event and all that happened, and like there is, like, in the first episode of the series, there is that scene of the enormous field that is just torched with dozens and dozens of charred hands reaching off the ground. It makes me wonder, with the idea of you're talking about there, if humanity is down to, like, its last dwindlings, on the verge of extinction, like they mentioned, to summon the angel, if they're still trying to repopulate from that, and then, like, with the intern idea, is people wanting to be close to this source of divinity. They can't get to it, otherwise they don't know where it's at. But if they can volunteer for this program, they can get to the creature, they can get to the angelic being, and see this divine presence by themselves in a world that feels so hopeless.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
if that's the
that's a
part of
good
the
point.
war? What if that is what causes the war? Is the people seeking out the engine, right?
It
Because
might.
we have to think it took the prayer of the entire world at this point
Yeah,
for the angel to
billions.
come,
Mm.
and then for it to just be captured, right? You would think that because number one, it's been broadcast everywhere, that just the possibility of our prayers were answered, people would crusade for that fact of, hey, we know divinity's real, we have to, like you're saying, reaching out, wanting to be close to divinity just to save themselves, if nothing else.
The topic you're mentioning, it almost makes me wonder if, like, it almost makes me wonder if Uriel's capture was before the war. This isn't, like, falling on the major speculation we have here, but with Uriel being captured before the war, if people were coming to seek him out, the whole disrest of, like, the rights of the angel, the disasters that are happening, people showing unrest, like the crazed individual who shot Dr. Ernstman. I almost wonder if that, like you're saying, led to that war, to that devastation, and the tower fell in that time by mankind's own avarice,
It's quite possible.
and the ones
Or if
looking
that's
for
what
more angels for
if
the
that's
angel
what
engine.
sparks the apocalyptic event, you know?
Yeah, and then that child that we saw, following the analogy of the World War III being fought with nukes, World War IV being fought with sticks and stones.
Except
That
instead
child
of
looking
nukes,
for,
it would be be fought with miracles,
Yeah.
or quote unquote miracles,
Oh.
right? Because that would explain why something had to come back and warn them not to let them in. Because part of me still believes that they're warning us about two beings. They're warning us about the deceiver, and they're warning us about the resurrection,
Mm-hmm.
possible resurrection of Dr. Ernsman, right? Because if he is reborn and he has this power, and these people are questioning him, he already has the hubris where he thinks he is a god. Would he not use his power to smite and show his mighty? He was saying he would show people he is who he is. That is what he said. That is exactly what he said during that news article, and that just seems like the pride of someone who would do that. And we've already seen the things adding up, like just from our own history, like the assassination, the protests, and things like you're saying. Those are all events that lead up to civil unrest and war.
Oh, that makes sense with him being the Antichrist too, because he'd be like the harbinger of the end time.
And
Yes.
off that, if you go off like the He Is Risen video, where he's talking about like it's an Easter video, but you hear Uriel, or what we assume to be Uriel, stating that he is risen, he has come back, he has risen. But then later he says he is not here, he has left. I think it's he is left, he's not here. I wonder if that's referring to two separate beings. The first part being referring to Ernstman, the second part being referred to God.
Well,
and then
if we
where's
look
your
back to
head? He shoots, seemingly with his hand, Uriel, and kills him.
Yeah, exactly. But also on that same note, in that same vein, looking back at Christian ideology, they say that there's the body and there's the soul, right? He is risen. He is went on to his holy body, but his humanly body is still there. What if that's what he means? What if he is risen? Dr. Ernstman has been granted a new body, a new life as the Antichrist. He no longer needs that vessel, and that's why Uriel can't heal him.
And how many days has he been dead? Like from that last video when they show him on Easter, which there's some significance on them showing the body, and he's saying he is risen on Easter.
Yeah, I know.
The guy who, the other spokesman for the company who's talking there next to him, I don't know if you saw, well, you probably did obviously notice it. His eyes have a kind of like wooden puppet look to his face. Like
he looks soulless. Yeah, he looks scary. He looks scary.
Uriel looks like more like distraught. Obviously, he's like wearing down more. His power's probably waning, but he looks more distraught physically to be saying what he's saying.
He's losing his mind. It almost seems. I mean, he's doesn't seem like he's there.
It also makes you wonder if like perhaps that's like the end goal of it, is something trying to wind an angel down until it dies.
And what happens? What if it's like
out of it?
like the collapse of a star? What happens when it stops burning?
Yeah,
like
when all that power is suddenly dried up, or implodes potentially on itself because it's a divine being.
You gotta wonder too if he can leave at any time. I'm sure there's some reason why he's there, but I feel like if he could just return home, he'd heal.
Yeah.
Also, if he could leave at any time, why does he record the message asking someone to come save him?
And why does he say that he's hurting and ask them not to hurt him? Yeah. Unless it's like
also, can we
a plea to humanity from God, or like his like, don't torture me because God doesn't want you to. Things are going to happen badly if you do.
Can we just talk about quickly and how sassy Dr. Ernstman said, "No, you're going to save me." No, he just like
not
snapped on. No, like he's heard a million times. Like he knew it was coming. Like
we're gonna have to do a follow-up episode after the series is ended, so that we can come back and do a breakdown of all of our theories.
Oh, 100%.
And be like, we should have like a bingo. have like a bingo about how close we were to each thing.
I mean, if we pick up a following and the creator's okay with it, that could be a fun live stream idea.
True. By the way, if you're watching this, the Unearthly Hub, love your work. Absolutely great. Fantastic. Terrifying.
Very well.
Scary as hell.
It definitely terrified me the first time I saw it, but I fell in love with the series from the first video.
The undertones and the mystery and the writing on itself, like, even if it doesn't have it has a lot of explanation without saying very much, which I think gives a lot of credit for a lot of stories in like modern day time, especially where they like to show but don't tell. This story is very much. Yeah, this story very much doesn't overplay its hand. It has what it wants to have. It's ready to drop down like the strongest hand it can, but it's still holding off, like teasing.
Yeah, it leaves room for theorizing, which I think is fun.
Yeah, it better have an ending though. Like it better have an ending because I feel like we're getting close to it.
I think we're
I
just
feel
starting to
like
ramp up.
you think we're just starting to ramp. You don't think we've reached crescendo yet?
I think we're starting. I think we're approaching the climax.
I think we're hitting the close of Act
Uh,
1.
oh no,
I think
oh
this is a
no.
3-part act, personally.
That would make sense.
Because they feel like this guy has a lot more, guy or a girl, not trying to gender you. This creator has a lot of gas in the tank for what they're doing, and I hope, even if this is just like soon to be finished, I hope they continue doing more, because this is insane for storytelling purposes, in a good way.
No, and if you guys do enjoy his content, I noticed in his Instagram link tree, he actually has a book that shows people how to make AI art the way he does. You just donate however much you see fit, and it's a guide using Midjourney AI to help you create your own stuff.
Of course, like support creators where you can, if you can. Money's tight nowadays, especially if you're hit by the tariffs from the U.S. or part of the U.S. and do what you can to help artists out when you can. But at the same time, if you gotta, find some AI art to make a quick little middle ground, nothing wrong with that.
I just want to thank you all for tuning in. This has been the Roundtable with the Lore Syndicate.